Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation on a topic that affects us all, the global environmental crisis. Today, we'll explore the urgent issues like pollution, deforestation, and climate change that threaten our planet's health and our well-being. We'll also discuss potential solutions that can make a real difference. So, let's dive in and understand what's happening and how we can help. These environmental problems have become some of the biggest challenges of our lifetime, and they really demand immediate and coordinated global action. We need to address these issues now to prevent devastating impacts on our planet and all of its inhabitants. While the climate crisis involves many complex factors, some issues stand out as particularly urgent. These include deforestation, which destroys vital ecosystems, biodiversity loss, which threatens the balance of life on Earth, food waste, which wastes resources and contributes to emissions, and fast fashion, which heavily impacts the environment through rapid production and waste. This overall crisis is made up of interconnected and escalating challenges. They're all linked, and often one problem worsens another. It's important to understand that these challenges don't exist in isolation. They're a result of human activities and the unsustainable exploitation of natural resources. So, as we move forward in this presentation, we'll explore these interconnected issues more deeply, because understanding their relationships is key to finding effective solutions. This is truly a global crisis that requires our collective attention and action. The world today is facing a wide range of urgent environmental issues that really threaten the health and future of our planet, as well as all of us who live here. These problems aren't isolated. They are interconnected and require our immediate attention. We're talking about climate change, which is causing more extreme weather and rising temperatures. Then there's biodiversity loss, meaning many species are disappearing at an alarming rate, which disrupts ecosystems. Pollution and waste are also major concerns, contaminating our air, water, and soil, and depleting natural resources faster than they can be replenished. All these challenges highlight the critical need for global action, because no single country or individual can solve these problems alone. This slide really underscores how serious these issues are and why our collective effort is essential to protect our environment and secure a sustainable future. The planet has already crossed several critical tipping points, and scientists warn that these could lead to disastrous consequences if we don't act. For example, we're seeing increasing deforestation in the Amazon rainforest, which is not only destroying habitats, but also releasing huge amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. We're also facing a sixth mass extinction, where many species are disappearing at an alarming rate. The Greenland ice sheet is melting at an unprecedented pace, contributing to rising sea levels, and permafrost in Arctic regions is thawing more quickly than ever before, releasing additional greenhouse gases. In May 2023, global temperatures have risen by approximately 1.15 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels. Meanwhile, CO2 levels have reached 420 parts per million, a figure last seen over 4 million years ago, when the climate was very different. This rapid increase in temperature and greenhouse gases is largely driven by human activities, especially the burning of fossil fuels. It's important to understand that these changes aren't isolated. They're interconnected and accelerating quickly. This overall trend of global warming is leading to more frequent and severe disasters worldwide, from hurricanes to wildfires and droughts. The core issue we're facing is that our reliance on fossil fuels is fueling these changes, pushing the planet toward dangerous thresholds. Recognizing this is key to understanding why urgent action is needed to reduce emissions and protect our future. A key solution we're looking at today is carbon taxes, which are designed to encourage the development of low-carbon technology. By putting a price on carbon emissions, we can motivate industries and individuals to reduce their carbon footprint. Currently, there are 27 countries that have implemented national carbon taxes. Sweden, for example, is leading the way with a tax of $127 per ton, which is quite significant. This shows how different nations are taking proactive steps to address climate change through economic policies. Economists like Nicholas Stern argue that market failures are at the heart of the climate crisis. Essentially, The markets aren't accounting for the true cost of emissions, which leads to overpollution. That's why policymakers are being urged to raise the cost of activities that are emissions-intensive to correct this failure. Now, when we talk about market failures and poor governance, it's important to understand that these issues undermine effective climate action. Poor governance can mean lack of enforcement or corruption, which hampers progress. So, addressing these failures is crucial if we want to make meaningful strides toward a sustainable future. All of these points connect back to the overall theme of using economic tools and good governance to combat climate change effectively. So, here's a striking fact. About a third of all greenhouse gas emissions each year are caused by food loss and waste. That's a significant portion, and it really highlights how our food systems impact the environment. Now, if we think about what that means in practical terms, that amount of emissions could actually be enough to feed 3 billion people. Imagine the difference we could make if we managed food more efficiently. On top of that, approximately 1.3 billion tons of food, about 1/3 of all the food intended for human consumption, is lost or wasted every year. That's a huge amount of edible food that doesn't even reach people's plates. When we look at these numbers together, it underscores how critical it is to address food waste, not just for reducing emissions, but also to better serve those in need around the world. It's a clear call to action that our efforts to minimize waste can have a real, meaningful impact on both the environment and global food security. So, here we see that over 500 terrestrial animal species are currently in danger of extinction, and alarmingly, they could disappear within the next 20 years. To put that into perspective, the same number of species were wiped out over the entire last century. Scientists warn us that this rapid loss of biodiversity would have taken thousands of years naturally, but due to human activities, it's happening much faster. This accelerated rate is largely driven by our increased consumption, population growth, international trade, and urbanization, especially over the past 50 years. In fact, we've used up more natural resources than Earth can regenerate. It's like we're depleting our planet's savings account. When we look at the populations of mammals, fish, birds, reptiles, and amphibians, the decline is staggering. An average drop of 68% from 1970 to 2016, according to recent research from WWF. This decline isn't just numbers. It signals a loss of vital ecosystems and the services they provide, which ultimately impacts all of us. Connecting this to our overall theme, it's clear that human activity is a major driver behind this biodiversity crisis. Protecting these species and restoring ecosystems is essential, not just for the animals, but for the health and sustainability of our entire planet. Plastic pollution has become one of the most serious environmental crises we face today. To put it into perspective, back in 1950, the world was generating just about 2 million tons of plastic each year. Fast forward to 2015, and that number had skyrocketed to an astonishing 419 million tons annually. This rapid increase has caused severe damage to our environment, especially our oceans. In fact, around 14 million tons of plastic end up in the oceans every year, posing a huge threat to marine life and habitats. What's really alarming is that, to date, about 91% of all the plastic ever produced remains unrecycled. That means most of it is still out there, contributing to one of the most pressing environmental issues of our time. This slide really highlights the scale of plastic pollution and underscores why addressing it is so critical for our planet's health. So, in addition to capturing carbon dioxide, forests play a crucial role in preventing soil erosion. The roots of the trees act like natural anchors, holding the soil in place and stopping it from washing away during rains, which can otherwise lead to landslides. Now, it's important to recognize how rapidly forests are being lost. Every hour, an area equivalent to 300 football fields is cleared. If current trends continue, we might only have about 10% of the world's forests left by 2030. And if we don't take action, they could disappear entirely in less than 100 years. The countries experiencing the highest rates of deforestation are Brazil, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Indonesia. A major driver behind this is agriculture, specifically clearing land to grow crops like sugar cane and palm oil, or to rear livestock for meat and dairy. This ongoing loss of forests not only diminishes biodiversity and disrupts ecosystems, but also jeopardizes the vital environmental services they provide, like carbon storage and soil protection. It's a pressing issue that ties directly into our overall theme of sustainable environmental management. According to UNICEF, outdoor air pollution caused the deaths of 258,000 people in Africa in 2017, which is a significant increase compared to 164,000 in 1990. This highlights how air pollution is a growing health crisis. As we see, outdoor air pollution is one of the major environmental issues of our time. In fact, the World Health Organization reports that 9 out of 10 people worldwide breathe air that contains high levels of pollutants. This exposure contributes to an estimated 4.2 to 7 million deaths each year, making it a critical public health concern. Natural phenomena like dust storms also play a role. Dust storms can stir up particulate matter, which worsens air quality in affected regions, adding to the pollution burden. In addition, human activities significantly contribute to this problem. For example, the burning of wood, crop waste, and other biomass fuels releases a lot of pollutants into the air. This form of biomass burning is a major contributor to outdoor air pollution, especially in rural areas. Factories, power plants, and other industrial operations release various pollutants as well, impacting public health and the environment. These industrial sources are responsible for a large share of the airborne contaminants we're dealing with. And let's not forget about motor vehicles. Cars, trucks, and other transport are major sources of outdoor air pollution. Emissions from vehicles release harmful pollutants that contribute to smog and respiratory issues. So, understanding these different sources, natural events like dust storms, biomass burning, industrial emissions, and vehicle exhaust, is key to addressing the overall challenge of air quality. It's a complex issue, but recognizing the major contributors helps us develop targeted solutions. As we look at how our planet is changing, it's important to understand that because of the Earth's rising temperatures, sea levels are increasing at more than twice the rate they did during most of the 20th century. This acceleration is mainly driven by melting land ice, and the Greenland ice sheet in the Arctic is the biggest contributor to this rise. If current trends continue, we can expect sea levels to be about 0.7 meters higher by the end of this century. Right now, sea levels are rising globally at a rate of approximately 3.2 millimeters per year. While that might seem small, over time it adds up and has significant impacts. And the Arctic is warming at more than twice the rate of other regions on Earth, highlighting just how rapid and severe climate change is in that part of the world. All of these factors, melting ice caps, rising sea levels, and accelerated warming, are interconnected. They remind us of the urgent need to address climate change and mitigate its impacts before these trends become even more severe. As we look beyond the surface, it's important to understand that rising global temperatures are not the only impact of climate change. They are actually the primary driver of ocean acidification, which is a less visible but equally serious problem. About 30% of the carbon dioxide we emit into the atmosphere doesn't stay there. It gets absorbed by our oceans. And as carbon emissions increase from human activities like burning fossil fuels, the amount of CO2 being absorbed by the water also rises. This is significant because the more CO2 the oceans take in, the more their chemistry changes. Even tiny shifts in the pH scale can have a huge impact on ocean acidity. And that's where the problem lies, because increased acidity can severely harm marine ecosystems and the species that live within them. It disrupts food webs, causes irreversible damage, and threatens the balance of ocean life overall. So, understanding ocean acidification helps us see just how interconnected these issues are, how our actions on land directly affect the health of our oceans and the entire planet's climate stability. Let's take a closer look at the scale of global fishing. Did you know that 90% of the 18.9 million fishermen worldwide are considered small-scale operators? These are folks using modest nets or even simple gear like rods, reels, and lures. Despite their small scale, they play a vital role in feeding millions. However, overfishing has had a devastating impact on both coastal communities and the health of our ocean ecosystems. When fish stocks are depleted, it affects not just the fishermen but the entire marine environment. Fish is actually the main source of protein for more than 3 billion people around the world. That's a huge portion of the global population relying on this resource. Interestingly, about 12% of the world's population depends on fishing in some way, and within that group, 90% are small-scale operators. But the problem is serious. Overfishing is causing significant ecological damage. We see rising levels of algae in the water, which is a sign of nutrient imbalance, and the destruction of fishing villages, which impacts local communities. Ocean littering has become more prevalent, and biodiversity is sharply declining. All of these issues highlight how critical it is to address overfishing if we want to preserve the health of our oceans and ensure that fishing can remain a sustainable livelihood for future generations. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is actually the world's biggest producer of cobalt, which is a really critical component for batteries in electric vehicles. Interestingly, artisanal miners are believed to be responsible for up to 20% of the country's cobalt production. Now, while cobalt is essential for powering cleaner transportation, its mining comes with serious challenges. It's often linked to hazardous worker exploitation, where workers, sometimes in unsafe conditions, risk their health and safety. There are also environmental issues to consider, such as contamination of nearby rivers and water supplies, and respiratory problems for communities living close to the mines due to crushed rock dust. If we look at the mining regions, we see that some areas have elevated radioactivity levels, which adds another layer of risk and complexity. Mining operations can be quite costly, with high expenses involved, especially given the environmental and safety concerns. All of this ties into the broader picture. Demand for cobalt is rising because it's vital for battery technology that powers electric vehicles, helping us reduce carbon emissions. But at the same time, we need to be aware of the social and environmental costs associated with its extraction. It's a balancing act, supporting green energy solutions while ensuring ethical and sustainable mining practices. Soil degradation is often caused by human activities, especially conventional agriculture practices that rely on harmful pesticides and pollutants. When we use these chemicals, it leads to the loss of organic matter in the soil, which is crucial for maintaining healthy soil structure and fertility. Over time, this deterioration can be quite severe, and if current practices continue, we could see regions, similar in size to South America, continue to decline in soil quality by 2050. Now, soil isn't just a medium for plants. It plays a vital role in climate regulation because it needs organic matter to effectively absorb carbon from the atmosphere. Plants naturally take in CO2 through photosynthesis and deposit some of that carbon into the soil as soil organic carbon, or SOCH. Healthy soil generally contains about 3 to 6% organic matter, but unfortunately, in many parts of the world, this level is much lower. The United Nations estimates that around 40% of the Earth's soil is already damaged. This is a huge concern because degraded soil not only affects agriculture and food security, but also diminishes the soil's ability to act as a carbon sink, which is critical for combating climate change. So, understanding these dynamics is essential if we want to develop sustainable solutions and protect the integrity of our soils for future generations. There is no single or simple answer to how to address the environmental problems that we face today. That's because these issues are complex and interconnected, often requiring different approaches and solutions. However, what we can do is focus on some general principles and actions that can guide us in the right direction. These principles help us understand where to start and how to move forward in creating a more sustainable and resilient future for everyone. By keeping these ideas in mind, we can work together more effectively to tackle the challenges ahead. Remember, it's about progress, not perfection, and every step counts in making a positive impact. Now, let's talk about how we can make a real difference through our waste management habits. First, it's essential to separate your recyclables and dispose of them properly. By doing this, we can divert valuable resources from landfills and help create a more sustainable future. Recycling isn't just about throwing things in the bin, it's about making sure those materials are processed correctly so they can be reused. Next, we should find creative ways to extend the life of the things we own. Reusing isn't just about recycling. It's about repurposing household items or donating unwanted goods to give them a second life. This approach reduces waste and helps others too. Finally, reducing waste starts with mindful choices, opting for reusable items whenever we can and avoiding unnecessary packaging. The goal is to produce less waste overall, which makes a huge impact. Remember, it's all about the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. When we incorporate these principles into our daily lives, we're actively contributing to a more sustainable environment and a healthier planet for everyone. Now, let's talk about hydroelectric power. This form of energy is generated by the flow of water, such as rivers or dams, and it's both reliable and renewable. Because water cycles naturally through precipitation and runoff, hydroelectric power can provide a significant amount of clean electricity without depleting resources. It's a proven method that helps us reduce our carbon footprint. Moving on to wind power, this is another fantastic renewable option. Wind turbines convert the kinetic energy from the wind into electricity. Wind power is abundant in many regions and produces no emissions during operation. It's a vital part of the transition away from fossil fuels because it offers a clean, sustainable, and increasingly cost-effective energy source. And then there's solar power, which harnesses the incredible energy of the sun. By installing solar panels, we can generate electricity directly from sunlight. Solar energy is especially versatile because it can be deployed on rooftops or large-scale solar farms. Investing in solar is crucial because it helps us reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and promotes a cleaner energy future. All of these renewable sources, hydroelectric, wind, and solar, are key to building a sustainable energy system. Supporting and investing in these technologies is essential for a healthier planet and a more resilient energy landscape. Creating wildlife corridors that link protected areas is a crucial step in helping animals move freely across their habitats. This connectivity allows them to access the resources they need, like food, water, and mates, which is essential for their survival. When animals can move safely between different areas, it not only supports individual species, but also benefits entire ecosystems by maintaining biodiversity and ecological balance. This idea of connecting habitats fits right into our broader goal of protecting and restoring natural environments. Reforestation and habitat restoration are also key strategies. By replanting trees and rehabilitating damaged landscapes, we give nature a chance to recover and flourish again. These efforts help restore degraded environments, providing shelter and resources for wildlife, and ultimately supporting a healthier planet. And of course, we must be mindful to protect the ecosystems that provide vital services. These include water purification, pollination of crops, and climate regulation, things we often take for granted. To do this, we need to avoid destructive practices like deforestation, overfishing, and urban sprawl. Supporting conservation initiatives, such as establishing protected areas and wildlife corridors, is essential for maintaining the health and resilience of our ecosystems. All these actions, creating corridors, restoring habitats, and conserving ecosystems, are interconnected. They form a comprehensive approach to protecting our natural world and ensuring the rich biodiversity that sustains life on Earth. When we think about individual actions, such as reducing waste, conserving energy, and making sustainable choices, it's important to realize that these small steps can add up and create a big impact when they're multiplied across entire communities. Every person's effort matters, and when many of us come together, we can really make a difference. But it's not just about individuals. Collective action by citizens can also put significant pressure on governments and businesses to step up and take stronger actions. When communities unite and advocate for change, policymakers and companies start feeling the urgency and are more likely to implement meaningful solutions. Now, businesses also play a vital role. They can contribute by adopting sustainable practices, like reducing their environmental footprint and developing innovative solutions to environmental challenges. Collaboration is key here. When businesses work with governments and civil society, they can find more comprehensive, holistic approaches to tackling these issues. And speaking of governments, they have a crucial role to play in this whole effort. Through policies, regulations, and incentives, governments can set ambitious environmental targets, invest in clean technologies, and promote sustainable practices across all sectors of society. Ultimately, addressing environmental problems requires collective action and cooperation at every level, individuals, businesses, and governments working together. When we all play our part, we're much more likely to create lasting, meaningful change and move toward a more sustainable future. All right, let's talk about global policies for environmental problems. These policies are absolutely crucial because many environmental issues cross national borders and cannot be solved by any single country alone. They require us to work together on a much larger scale. On this slide, I want to highlight some of the key policies and frameworks that are designed to address these challenges. Think of them as the global tools and agreements that help protect and preserve our planet, our Mother Earth. By implementing these policies, countries commit to coordinated efforts to reduce pollution, conserve natural resources, and combat climate change. The overarching goal here is to create a unified approach to environmental protection that benefits everyone, regardless of where they are in the world. These frameworks remind us that safeguarding our environment is a shared responsibility, one that demands collective action and global cooperation. And as we move forward in this presentation, keep in mind that these policies are foundational to our efforts in creating a sustainable future for generations to come. Let's take a closer look at the Paris Agreement and what makes it so significant. This is a truly global effort, with nearly every country on Earth participating. Such widespread cooperation is absolutely essential because climate change is a challenge that affects us all, regardless of where we are. When countries work together, the chances of reaching the ambitious goals of the agreement increase dramatically. One of the key elements of the Paris Agreement is its focus on supporting developing nations. These countries often need financial help to adapt to climate impacts and to develop clean technologies. The agreement emphasizes providing financial assistance, technology transfer, and support for both mitigation and adaptation efforts. This kind of cooperation ensures that no country is left behind and that all can contribute to and benefit from global climate action. Another crucial aspect is the temperature goal. The Paris Agreement aims to keep the rise in global average temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, but it also strives to limit that increase even further, to 1.5 degrees Celsius. To achieve this, each country sets its own targets, called Nationally Determined Contributions, or NDCs, that outline their plans to reduce emissions and adapt to climate impacts. These contributions are central to the overall strategy, as they represent the commitments that collectively drive progress toward our climate goals. In summary, the Paris Agreement embodies the spirit of global cooperation, financial support for those in need, and shared responsibility to mitigate climate change. It's a comprehensive approach that emphasizes collective action, which is critical for tackling a challenge of this magnitude. So, the UNFCCC has put in place important mechanisms like the Clean Development Mechanism, or CDM, and the Green Climate Fund, or GCF. These are designed to support both mitigation efforts, which aim to reduce greenhouse gases, and adaptation efforts, which help communities cope with climate impacts. Funding plays a crucial role here, and these mechanisms help channel financial resources to where they're needed most. The UNFCCC also organizes annual conferences of the parties, known as COPs. These gatherings are essential because they allow countries to assess how well we're doing, negotiate new commitments, and strengthen our collective climate action. It's also important to remember that the UNFCCC is the parent treaty of the Paris Agreement. This means it laid the foundation for this groundbreaking international accord, which promotes global cooperation and shared responsibility for addressing climate change. All these elements, funding mechanisms, annual meetings, and the overarching treaty, work together to advance our global efforts to address climate change comprehensively and effectively. Now, let's take a closer look at the Nagoya Protocol. This is an international agreement that builds on the Convention on Biological Diversity, or CBD, to ensure that the benefits arising from the use of genetic resources are shared fairly and equitably. Essentially, it sets up a framework to promote responsible and fair use of these resources, which is key to supporting biodiversity conservation and sustainable development worldwide. Moving on, as part of the CBD's broader goals, parties to the convention are committed to developing and implementing national biodiversity strategies and action plans. These plans are crucial because they outline how each country will conserve and sustainably use its biological resources. This means that countries are taking responsibility for their own biodiversity, creating tailored approaches to protect their unique ecosystems and species. Connecting all these points back to our main theme, the CBD and the Nagoya Protocol are fundamentally about fostering international cooperation. They aim to ensure that the benefits of using genetic resources, like medicines, crops, or other products, are shared fairly, which encourages countries to conserve biodiversity while also benefiting economically and socially. This integrated approach helps us move toward a sustainable future where biodiversity is protected and used responsibly for generations to come. The Montreal Protocol, adopted in 1987, is widely regarded as one of the most successful international environmental agreements we have. It really demonstrates how powerful global cooperation can be when we come together to tackle complex challenges like protecting our planet. One of the key strengths of this protocol is its emphasis on including financial and technical support for developing countries. This support has been absolutely crucial because it helps these countries transition away from using ozone-depleting substances, ensuring that everyone is on board and compliant. The overall goal of the Montreal Protocol is to protect the ozone layer by phasing out the production and consumption of harmful substances like CFCs and halons. Thanks to this agreement, we've seen a successful phase-out of many of these substances, which is a huge win for environmental health. This slide highlights how international cooperation, combined with support for developing nations, has really made a difference in safeguarding our planet's future. It's a perfect example of how united effort can lead to meaningful, lasting change. The Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, really provide a clear framework for everyone, countries, businesses, and individuals alike, to work together towards a more sustainable future. Achieving these goals by 2030 is not just an option, it's a critical global priority that we all need to keep at the forefront. There are 17 goals in total, each with specific targets, 169 in all, that are designed to guide us towards sustainable development across many areas. For example, Goal 13 is all about climate action, emphasizing the urgent need to address climate change. But these goals also cover other important issues, like social equality, health, and environmental protection. What's really important to understand is that the SDGs are a comprehensive approach. They don't just focus on one problem. Instead, they tackle a wide range of interconnected challenges, from reducing poverty and inequality to promoting environmental sustainability. This holistic view helps us see how all these issues are linked and why we need coordinated efforts to make real progress. So, in essence, these goals are a roadmap for building a better, more sustainable world, one where economic development, social inclusion, and environmental health all go hand in hand. And achieving them by 2030 is something we all have a role in making happen. Let's talk about how CITES ensures that its rules are actually followed. Member countries are required to create their own laws to enforce the agreement locally. This means each country has a responsibility to implement measures that support the treaty's goals. Additionally, CITES has a compliance mechanism in place, a monitoring system to check whether countries are adhering to the rules and to address any violations that might occur. Moving on to how CITES manages the protection of different species, it categorizes species into 3 different appendices. Each appendix offers a different level of protection, which allows the agreement to be flexible and adapt to the changing conservation status of species over time. This categorization helps prioritize resources and enforcement efforts where they are most needed. Finally, CITES controls international trade of endangered wild species through a system of permits and certificates. These are essential tools to monitor and regulate trade, preventing illegal activities and ensuring that trade does not threaten the survival of these species. So overall, CITES combines legal frameworks, flexible protection levels, and trade controls to effectively conserve wild flora and fauna across the globe. Today, I want to talk about Agenda 2030 and its ambitious targets for the year 2030. These goals cover a wide range of crucial issues, from ending poverty and hunger to making sure everyone has access to clean water and affordable, clean energy. The main idea is to create a future that is more equitable and environmentally sustainable for all of us. Achieving these targets requires collective effort. It's not something any single country or organization can do alone. It calls for cooperation among nations, businesses, and civil society, everyone working together. This highlights the importance of a holistic and inclusive approach, because sustainable development isn't just about one aspect. It's about balancing economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. Now, Agenda 2030 emphasizes a comprehensive view of development. It includes the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, which are interconnected. These goals recognize that tackling one challenge often depends on addressing others. Whether it's reducing inequality, protecting our planet, or promoting economic growth, all these pieces are linked, and progress in one area supports progress in others. In essence, Agenda 2030 is a call for every sector of society to be part of the solution. It's a shared vision for a better, more sustainable world, one where we work together across borders and sectors to meet these ambitious targets by 2030. Now, let's look at how establishing these policies helps the international community as a whole. By putting clear rules and standards in place, we can hold countries accountable for their actions and their progress toward environmental goals. This fosters a sense of shared responsibility, reminding everyone that protecting our planet is a collective effort. Next, these global frameworks play a crucial role in resource allocation. They help direct both financial and technical support to countries that need it most, ensuring they have the tools and assistance necessary to implement effective solutions and meet their commitments. Then, it's important to recognize that policies also set specific targets and guidelines. These serve as a roadmap, helping countries align their efforts and maintain a consistent approach to environmental protection and sustainable development. Finally, all of these policies and frameworks create a foundation for international cooperation. They encourage dialogue, coordination, and shared responsibility among nations, which is essential because many environmental challenges are global in nature and require collective action. So, in summary, the importance of global policies lies in their ability to promote accountability, resource sharing, clear targets, and cooperation, key elements to effectively addressing the pressing environmental issues we face today. As we wrap up, I want to highlight how international agreements like the Paris Agreement and the Convention on Biological Diversity play a crucial role in guiding our collective efforts. These agreements emphasize that safeguarding our planet is a shared responsibility, and that we all need to work together to protect the environment for future generations. Addressing the global environmental crisis isn't something we can do alone or at one level. It's an urgent call for coordinated action across international, national, and local levels. Some of the most effective solutions involve transitioning to renewable energy sources, which can significantly cut down emissions. We also need to implement sustainable land and resource management practices to preserve biodiversity and maintain ecological balance. Reducing emissions is critical, but so is conserving the rich variety of life that makes our planet unique. Finally, adopting circular economy principles, where waste is minimized and resources are reused, can help us move toward a more sustainable future. In essence, these efforts are interconnected and reinforce the overall theme that protecting our environment requires collective, sustained action. It's a shared responsibility we all have to ensure a healthier planet for generations to come.